mwanga wa maarifa. Ile saa ingine anaongea analewa na utamu, you know. Like it's supposed to be serious issues and analeta to jokes, but in terms of really very getting connected on the grassroots is very, very, very good. Very good. Hakuna kona ya constituency yake ambayo hajui na inamjua face to face, one on one. He has a super network, which is what most leaders don't have. Super network. People he meets with face to face. Akona ni kama zile vitu zinaitwa nyumba kumi. He has even smaller units of people. You know, smaller units of people whom he knows by name. Yeah. So there I namshukuru kabisa. And in terms of implementation, spending the CDF and all that. And that is what has endeared him so much to the people. You know, that money goes to where there is need. And actually he does what is called in community development, people-driven initiatives. Ni watu wanakuja hapa wanahitaji hapa tunahitaji classroom. Anapeana pesa. They decide, they vote. Yeah, he has utilized that very, very well. That tumpatie hiyo. Participation, public participation. In fact, Babu is very good at public participation. He's not like those other guys who call people in the bar. Wanapitisha vile wataenda kugawa CDF. Public participation. Asikii. Basi twende kwa Karami, akisikia atakuja Karami.
Yes. Umeongea point nzuri sana G regarding this new leadership that Raila seem to be having. Hata mimi nimeshindwa. Wale tulikuwa tunaona zamani wako wapi? Kina Joho, you know, what is the new strategy? Ni mpango anapanga, hata mimi nataka kujua vizuri. But I think sometimes I'm here to think that some of these are just opportunists wa kando kidogo hivi, opportunists. There's something that they went into politics for. Na sasa hiyo kitu ni kama wamepata. Na sasa wako nje kidogo, wako into business. Wamerudi mabiashara zao. So sasa zile connections wako nazo, like sasa lazima wanajitengeneza pale. Alafu sasa najiuliza labda because Ruto is here, atawamaliza so wakae chini kidogo wasiongee sana because you know they want some of those businesses as attack wavamiwe sana. So I think is that your kitu ya opportunism, they're not serious patriotic leaders. Si wale leaders wanasema wako na nguvu, they have a mission, a goal for the country. Ile kukula. So hapo naangalia, hata mimi naangalia vizuri. I'm trying to look at what is going on there. I don't know kama ni game ama ni nini. Asante hapo.
Nimekuingiza ukakataa kuingia bana. Hiyo link umeiona?
Ama unaonaje guru?
Oh yeah, okay, nimekuona.
Kweli. Yeah.
Uko ndani sasa. Yes, thank you Karami. Uko najaribu attend to some ipo tu nimewaeleza na ndio ile ina which for me I think it's working quite well. And as we say, even kama ungeangalia Jakaranda kuna wale walikuwa wanapewa nafasi, then for them walikuwa wanakuja ile kuwa excited that wame address crowd. Unajua mtu hata wazi zinaisha, you know, a revolutionist. Hata ukiamshwa saa 8 usiku, that is because what you believe you should come out automatically unless you are faking, because if you are acting then you start wondering whether you should say this or that. Yeah, so basically Papa is on the right course and most people will follow. Yes, let's go to Nani. Public.
ridiculously fast nasal congestion relief. Wow, it's real. When I say this, basically,
Participation is your chance to speak.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we are submitting mwisho alafu unge.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the situation is not good on the ground. Kenyans are really suffering. We don't know who is going to save us because, by the way, Kenyans are now so desperate than ever before. Even during Moi era, we were not this desperate. At least Moi had that heart of chakula tu. Could make sure at least ile maziwa ya Nyayo, mtoto anakunywa maziwa ya Nyayo. At least chakula inaweza come down, at least the basics kama unga ya ugali. Mtu anaweza pata tu kitu ya kuweka kwa mdomo. Sasa it has reached where people are now committing suicide because of hunger. Hustler will have hard time. So better achana na nani ndio anamsumbua. Who is the one who is instigating rebellion. If there would be no rebellion, if at all people would be million people in Jacaranda, because the population in general is not okay. Many people are entrepreneurs, are these politicians who are going to meet with him and they have Thanksgiving services in the. Those are the people who are. Everybody else in Kenya nani anaweza sema sio mkulima. So fertilizer, which fertilizer yenye unaenda kuregister alafu unaambiwa you have to pay. Right now, more jobs is going to be lost because this issue of privatization and also this issue of investors. Investors now don't want to be in Kenya because electricity is not affordable to produce. Alafu cartels have come in whereby you have to be giving them cut. Official cartels now see at cartel too hivi yenye it has backing of the government. So they come to you, they want you to now give them cut.
The industries have moved like almost 20. In Nairobi, I think I checked last time, they had moved over 15. People have lost jobs completely because of the energy and also the tax. Kenya has the corporate tax of about 35%. Egypt has only 15%. South Africa has only 10%. Kenya has the highest tax rate, corporate tax rate in Africa, which is about 35 to 40%. That's how bad it is.
Okay, can you send me a link so I can do some research on that? Send me a link.
Okay, put your number there. I can send you.
Okay, I'll do that. Yeah, apart from the energy sector, which other sector? And also, this issue about Safaricom and sending money and pesos, unless you're sending money from overseas to Kenya, are they adding some money there so that people there get less? Or
I don't think so. What Wave has done, we send through, for example, in the US, where I am, we send through Wave.
Yes.
Wave does not charge us.
Yes.
I think if there is a commission, it's very small. So, for instance, right now, Stone PK tunatumia ngapi sahi?
So, for example, if you send Wave to your M-Pesa in Kenya, right?
Yeah.
To your M-Pesa,
Are you charged a certain amount when he gets there?
I don't think so. Stone sahi tunachajiwa it's almost 130. Uko mute, Stone. Uko muted.
Yeah, right now a dollar is 125.
Yeah, 125. Lakini wa Somalia ile wala tunatumia, it is I think it's 132.
132, yes.
Yeah. So wa Somalia isili wanatumia 132. Lakini kuna wenye wanatumia mpaka 140.
Yeah, so Guru na wale wako Kenya wanaweza sema what is happening when they are doing the transactions there. Because ilikuwa imesemekana they are targeting. If now Guru sends to his son who is in college somewhere, let's say at JKU CAT, amtumia shilingi 500. We were being told that itakuwa taxed. And that's why we are finding it very ridiculous, you know, because
you remember when they were campaigning, Gachagua targeted our airport and also targeted Safaricom. So I think it's a strategy to take over this company. And remember, immediately they came into power, the first thing they took Safaricom to where? Ethiopia. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yes.
You remember that?
Yes.
The strategy is to monopolize Safaricom and to make it an agent of the state. And I think they are almost taking it over. It's not a parastatal, by the way. It is a private entity, but the government wants it so bad because, you know, Safaricom, if you understand about Safaricom, it is connected to all parastatal, all banks, and all almost everything has connected to Safaricom. So Safaricom is making a lot of money. So taking it over, I think it's Ruto's strategy so that they can fund themselves politically. Uhuru did not do that because Safaricom as an agency supported him kidogo. But Ruto has decided to take it over. So as for now, Safaricom is the biggest making money all over Kenya because it's connected to all banks, or the electricity and energy, the healthcare facilities, and everything. So that's why they are targeting them, because they understand that's where the money is. Yeah, Guru, talk.
Yes, the issue of Safaricom is very interesting with this government. What Alex has said is true. The Safaricom and Kenya Airways were at the center of the debates that were going on, and it's now thought that there's been a deliberate plan to cause some environment that is that would make those who hold the shares of that company to exit, so that others can come in. And exactly that is what has happened. Just 1 or 2 weeks ago, a mysterious, that's what we call them here, investor mopped up quite a huge chunk of the shares at the Nairobi Securities Exchange after
capital markets.
Yes, capital markets, but we call it we call it what? Nairobi Stock Exchange.
Nairobi Stock Exchange, yeah.
Yes, that's what it is called. So, a mysterious investor, that's what the media called them, came and mopped up a huge number of chunk of shares. And it almost is clear now that there's a concerted effort to change the shareholder structure. You are aware that already the chairman, John Gumi, who was just 8 months into his work, was kind of eased out, and a Muhindi called Kadwara was brought in, a very close ally of the current government. Right now, the race is to have the current CEO, Mr. Degwa, exit. So it is very clear that this is one of the parastatals that has been, no, not parastatal, sorry, we might use once here, but the government, I think, has 35% of Safaricom shareholding. And right now, it is not very clear what the game plan is of the government. You're also aware that they have been pushing for M-Pesa to become a full-fledged bank, to de-link from the voice and to de-link from those other services and become a full-fledged bank, kind of. So Alex is very conversant with what happens in companies, or especially listed companies, when management starts changing. And it could either boost investor confidence or undermine it. And that's why here we do not know exactly what the game plan is for the new kings in the block. And you are also aware that KPLC, during the last days of Rust regime, the shares were mopped up, and one single individual shareholder, or said to be Didi Nyoro, is now the single individual holding a majority of the shares. Of course, there are other companies, but as an individual, that's what they say.
His approach on that is, he seems to be the individual, but is a proxy of Ruto.
Okay, I can't vote for that. I can't vote for that, but I'm just giving the raw data of what we see happening.
Remember, Keter was the minister for energy. So for Ruto, what he decided is to use Ndindi Nyoro to become a proxy of him, and that's why they are very close. So that is what we know.
Well, that one I can't vote for that. But what I know is that there is a movement towards changing the shareholders' structures of major companies that offer fatal, quite unpopular. Because actually, if you look at the it is the so-called hustlers saving grace, because I am in Nairobi and for money, 1K, 1,000 shillings to medicine or some food. Okay, 3,000 or so. And my brother maybe is sick. I sent 5,000. Now, does the government come and say that that is money I have made through profits or through business deals? I don't know. So I don't know. The kind of things that we are seeing right now are going to hurt so deeply for the common man that I do not know whether this government was really a hustler nation. I don't like using that word because the definition is quite bad. It's not something you can be proud of. However, the appetite for this government and the ranks they are going to try to accumulate the revenue is never been known in this country since independence. I am told that one of the other things that is hovering in the horizon is that the registration of farmers across the country, one of them being the fertilizer. I heard one of the cross persons in this government say that if you have a shamba and you are doing some bit of farming, you are making money, the government has given you a road that passes just near your small farm. It has brought water closer to you. It's brought electricity closer to you. Then you have an obligation to pay some tax. So if that is the direction the government will take, it will mean your small farm somewhere, Alex, somewhere in Ekereño, ama Keroka, will attract some tax, annual tax.
Let me add something. Let me add something about the registration of farmers. Because of the GMO, registration is ongoing so that to be able to stop the use of indigenous seeds. So you'll not be able to use indigenous seeds unless the government has given you a permit to do so. That is part of the reason why these farmers are being registered so that they can.
Come again?
I'm saying.
Come again? Yes.
Are you here? Can you get me?
Repeat that again.
I'm saying the registration of farmers. Registration of farmers, eh? Are you hearing me?
Yes, we are hearing you. Yes.
The registration of farmers is there to ensure that farmers stop using indigenous seeds. Indigenous seeds will be outlawed, and you can only use indigenous seeds or distribute indigenous seeds if you have a permit from the government, meaning that all farmers will be required to use GMO. Thank you.
Yeah, that is very true.
Public participation. Public participation.
Just hold on, Guru. When Mudavadi made a trip right 1 week before election last year, he came to Texas. They met with Warren and Soros, and supported them. And Soros has been a regime changer he caused the regime change in Ukraine. He caused the regime change in many countries. So when they came, one of the things they were told is that we will support you. We will support you. We will give you money for campaign if you allow GMO. Samonta is called Samonta company is the greatest GMO.
Monsanto.
Monsanto, yeah. Monsanto is the greatest GMO company in the world, and it's held with Warren Buffett and his son, and they are trying to introduce by force GMO in Africa. For that sake, they supported Ruto, and Ruto agreed. That's the deal they gave him. Remember, Ruto came here with Mudavadi and the rest of his crew last year. And later on, Mudavadi came later on by himself. And they held, because they did not have, remember when Ruto was going out of the country, he was stopped by Matiang'i and Uhuru when he was going to Uganda. And that is, they had some money there for the campaign. So the money they got is which Mudavadi brought from the US, from Soros. And what they did is that they gave them a deal. And they agreed that they are going to sponsor them to introduce GMO completely in Kenya. So right now, already GMO has started functioning in Kenya. Yeah, that is what they did.
Yes, that's why all of us, it doesn't matter where we are, diaspora, on the ground, you know, we have to support, even us to support Raila, even us as individuals. Kwa sababu hapa maneno yamekuwa mbaya. This is really serious. I've never heard of anything like that in Kenya. Now farms are going to be registered. When they're registered, now you have to stop using indigenous seeds. Ndio GMO introduciwe. And do they have anything about growing organic foods in Kenya industry? Because you know, in America and Europe, there's organic food. Some of it is genetically modified. But are people doing organic foods?
In the US,
I'm saying here it's extremely expensive. So what usually happens is there is a market for organic food in Hurlingham once a week. I think it's on Saturday, but it's extremely expensive compared to what we are having in the market. It's expensive. The farms which have been approved for privatization: Kenya Pipeline, Kenya Ports Authority, Kenya Meat Commission, Consolidated Bank, Development Bank of Kenya, 5 sugar millers: Chemilil, Sonin, Zoia, Miwani, and Mohoroni. And then some hotels which are not listed. The government is also planning to reduce its stake in KenGen and East African Portland Cement. So that's where privatization has reached so far. Thank you.
Now, let me first chip in before we lose the trail of the GMOs. The government is saying it's registering farmers so that they can be given fertilizer. I don't know whether it will be a condition that if you register, then you have to take GMO. I'm not very sure about that one. But you can obviously see the government has a stronger hand in determining how the farmers do their farming, in the sense that if you don't register, you don't get the fertilizer. And most of our people are poor. So especially the farmers. So they have no option. But I also want to bring out to you that there's a bill that was passed. It's an act now that was passed, I think, I'm not very sure, between 2016 and 2019, which outlawed any sharing of seeds by the farmers. You know, Stone PK, you know where we come from. Your neighbor, they can have some seeds of maize or beans or whatever it is that grows in your homestead. Then, well, the rest. It is actually illegal if that is found to have happened, the persons either selling or sharing is actually committing a crime. There's somebody called Greenpeace, which has been fighting very hard to reverse that act. So these things are there. I do not know what kind of MPs we have had, but these are things you'll be surprised. Some of them are already existing in our raw books. So GMO mtakula mpende msipende.
The issue of commercialization and taking over the government from those public participation, as said, was one of the major issues that Ruto was fighting with Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Now, I don't know if you understand Ruto. One person told me that Ruto loves two things, money and women. And they explained to me dearly how he operates. And that's why sometimes back, Robert Alai shared, you remember when he said the issue of room 350, something, room 350 in his hotel. This government, especially when you listen to Gachagua, has decided to loot the coffers of our economy. And it's being done openly. They don't even care that it's illegal or not. What they did for them to succeed is they captured the judiciary. Now, this is where I go wrong with Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Had Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta appointed the judges that were supposed to be appointed, we will not have this mess. So immediately Ruto was inaugurated. What he did was to give the judiciary, was it, how much, was it 800 million? Something like that. And he captured them. So once our judiciary is not functioning, we don't have an arbitrator between us. We can't go to court. Remember, Justice Odunga used to, when Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta was the president, Justice Odunga could give us a permit for picketing or for demonstrations. That cannot happen right now. We must demonstrate by force now. Now, I think once the judiciary was captured, we put our country in a wrong move. So the first thing Baba should do is to redeem our judiciary. And that is how we can function better. Somebody like Koome, I remember when she became the Chief Justice, Raila congratulated her because she was the first woman Chief Justice. I did not see her going this direction. And I don't understand how he even decided. Ruto must have paid her billions of money for her to do what she has done, because I think she has destroyed our country. So the only thing we can do, first of all, is to reform our judiciary before even we go to State House. And Kenyans must know the priorities first right now. If we don't have a functional judiciary, the country can never run very well. For instance, you can see in South Africa. In South Africa, the other day, I don't know if you guys saw that, Zuma took Ramaphosa to court for the Fala money that he had millions of dollars in cash that were not registered. And what happened? The court actually took the case, and they are still fighting about that. And that is what actually Malema is doing that. If we can go that way so that we are able to go to court, for things that Ruto has done, then I think we can redeem our country. But the courts are not listening to us anymore. Stone PK, the courts are not listening to us. They are giving Ruto a freeway. So I think before we march to State House, let us redeem our courts so that we can have functional attributor. Yeah, that's all I can say right now.
I think it's a bit different. Because if you go to...
Let me add something small. Let me add something small about the GMO. So what is happening is that these are kind of a global thing which is happening. It is kind of a global problem which is happening, whereby they're using free trade laws to take over the areas which, like, there's the battle even in Asia and Africa, in so many African countries. So what happens is they want to outlaw completely indigenous seeds, to the extent that if you grow indigenous seeds, and the reason why Kenyan farmers use indigenous seeds is because they can't afford to buy the other seeds, which are, the industrial seeds. So they normally keep seeds from one season to the next, and they normally share among themselves as well. So, and we know that majority of farmers in Kenya are smallhold farmers who have about an acre or less, which they are farming, they're using for farming. So this registration, it has a malicious intent. This registration is not there to benefit the farmers in terms of fertilizer. It is just there to be able to get a hold of all the farmers. And no sooner than they get a hold of all the farmers who are farming, now they'll be able to control and make sure that you don't use the free indigenous seeds that we are used to, that the farmers were used to. Remember that the GMO seeds are not becoming for free. You have to buy them, and then after buying them, probably after the first season, second season, they mess up the soil. When they mess up the soil, that means that you need more fertilizer as well as more herbicides, pesticides, acaricides. As you are continuing, the production also becomes lower, and the parasites or the weeds end up becoming resistant, more and more resistant. So this is good money for people like Monsanto, because you'll be using more. You'll need to use more fertilizer. You need to use more acaricides. You need to use more herbicides. So this is good business for them, and it's just all about business. There's nothing like any benefit that it's going to bring to the farmer as such. So the benefit for the guys who are pushing this is just getting the products from Monsanto. That is all what it is. There's nothing else. There's nothing it's going to... in fact, even this narrative that the only way that the UNGA can come down is through this GMO is an absolute lie. It's just, it is just for now to show that, these things are good. But at the end of the day, it's not. It will end up being more expensive, actually. But by then, they will already have a tight grip on the distribution. And so and anybody who tries to distribute indigenous seeds, or to use the indigenous seeds and not use the industrial seeds, will have industrial GMO seeds will now be criminalized. It will be a criminal offense. That's what has been happening in other countries. And even in Kenya, they've been trying to push it, but during the reign of the former president, he pushed back and he actually outlawed it. But this is a move by Monsanto to capture third world countries, to be able to make money from that. But there is no benefit. There's totally no benefit to bringing this. And in Kenya, we are being lied to that now if you use GMO, the packet of unga is no longer going to be 230 shillings. It can come down to 150. That's a lie. If it comes down, it's just gonna be for the first season. After that, will even be higher than that. I don't know what will happen to other non-GMO seed brands because they are there. But all what I know, this is just an eating, it's a gravy train for these people. And our economy is 60% at least agriculture. So you can imagine, we're also having the issue whereby rice is being imported. And more farmers are having a problem selling their rice because the one from Pakistan is a lot cheaper. The same goes for eggs, so many other things. The problem with a lot of our products that we use is that there is a lot of use of electricity and even the use of inputs. Now, the problem in Kenya is that inputs are too expensive and also electricity is too expensive. So you can see that's why now you can find that you can get a tray of eggs from Uganda being 300, and in Kenya you can only sell it 400, 500 because of the inputs have gone too high, the electricity has gone too high. So you find even countries, small countries like in terms of economy, Tanzania and Uganda, they are able to produce cheaper commodities, basic food commodities, because of the kind of problem that you're having here. And I can tell you this problem is just an artificial problem, because even let's talk about schools. The other day, I think it was either Moses Kuria was complaining about the uniform monopoly, whereby parents are being forced to go to certain uniform distributors who are very expensive. So the thing is, you see, these people, they want to come and look like they're coming to save you, but what they're coming to do is to change hands of the people who have been robbing you. That is just what it is. So they now vilify like these uniform companies which have been eating a lot, and textbook companies. Because the textbook company in Kenya is for school books is highly exaggerated. I understand that books which are going for 700 in Kenya, the same book in Rwanda is going for 100, because Kagame said that he is not going to allow, if you want your textbook to be used there, it's at 100 shillings or not at all. So for it to be 700 in Kenya, that means that it is it's being inflated artificially. It's not that really the book costs that much. And then now, it's a whole cartel. It's a whole cartel whereby the books, even the use of books, you don't use the same. Children don't use the same textbook. If you have two children who are following one another, the one who is behind cannot use the textbooks of the former one, because the one who is ahead, because the textbook changes. You're supposed to use another textbook. Yeah. So kama uko na mtoto, if you have a child in grade 2 and another in grade 3, the grade 2 cannot, when he gets to grade 3, use the one for grade 3 because they change the textbook. The education system is the same, everything is the same, but they just change the textbooks arbitrarily to make sure that parents keep on buying textbooks. It's very unfortunate. Thank you.
Before you go, I wanted to ask you a question. So you mentioned there's an organic market in Hurlingham, right? Was it Hurlingham?
Yes, Hurlingham.
Where do they get their seeds from? Where do they get their input from for the organic products?
Okay, as far as I'm aware, there's a kind of a body which has specific targets or standards. Let me put it as standards.
Okay.
So they normally come and check on. They'll probably get you the seeds, and then they also check on how you are growing the crops, because they also don't want use of a lot of acaricides and a lot of those things that make now they want it organic. So they also check on that. So it is the same way. There are some companies which come and check. Rather, it's a body. They come and check so that they certify you. It's not just that I can go there one day and just sell.
Yes.
But it's also very costly. Yeah. Thank you. Go ahead, Guru.
Is Alex around?
He has left.
He's left, eh?
Yeah.
Now, we are winding up, Guru.
Okay, let me just make my quick points. First of all, let me say the sale of government bodies. Those of you who are old enough, they know that during the Moi era, at one time, I think that was recommended by the Bretton Woods institutions. And Moi, being a clever man, he knew we were very weak and that our veto facilities would be bought by foreigners. So what he did, he dallied with the idea. Then came Kibaki. He did it very strategically and just, sold what could be sold at a time when Kenyans could buy. So most of the buying came from the local people. But you see now, right now, we are at a very weak point. And the possibility of our country and the veto facilities being bought off by foreigners and just a small clique of political elite is very rife. As to how much money they will accumulate out of that, we don't know. The body like new KCC, you know where it is coming from. You are aware that the Moi kleptocracy, they had bought off these facilities at a throwaway price, and once Kibaki came to power in 2003, he reversed those sales and returned the new KCC to the farmers. So it is now 100% owned by the government, not even the farmers. But the farmers have been wanting to buy. What has been the problem is that the politics between the people of central Kenya and those of the Rift Valley has always come in between the sale of this veto facility. It is understood at one time the people of Rift Valley wanted the shareholding to be individual. Okay? Individuals buy shares. But in Central, they wanted cooperatives to buy in. So that controversy has kept this body still the decision at abeyance. So the privatization of the sugar industry has been in the cards for a long time, especially I think the 5 millers. And there are circumstances, including politics, which has come in their way for several years. So it is now very strange that the government has applied that they don't have to go through parliament for approvals and all those other scrutiny that would come with this kind of a process. That raises a lot of suspicion of what this is all about. And, people make deals in Kenya. You remember initially when we were going for shares of Safaricom, there was a Shandway investor called Mobiterea, which had, I think, 5% shares. The media kept asking the government who these are, and it was never revealed who they were. But however, the underlying was known who these were. And they are just very well connected politicians who just come in and without putting a dime, they demand a certain percentage of shareholding so that they can continue to be a beneficiaries of dividends and other benefits that come in being a shareholder. So therefore, this is something we can't exhaust at this point. I just want them to highlight what retro I know. Thank you.
Okay. Let me just add something. The people who are taking the lead in implementing this privatization is is a privatization authority, which is which has a team of 9. There used to be 11. Now they are down to 9 members. So the 9, they have also scrapped the steering committee, which was within privatization commission, and these were charged with key decisions of the planned sale to eliminate lengthy decision-making process. So basically, it's down to 9 people who are doing this, and the CS will provide policy directions and coordinate the adherence to the national, regional, and international obligation, oversee the administration of the act. So basically, these people, then these 9 who are belonging to this authority will be managed by a chairperson will be appointed by the president, the principal secretary to the National Treasury, the principal treasury as secretary in the ministry for the time being responsible for matters relating to investment promotion or designated. Others will be attorney general. 4 other persons not being public officers who will be appointed by the cabinet secretary. That's it. And the managing director of the authority. Those are the people who will be charged with the privatization. Thank you.
Are those not wholly government-controlled personalities?
Exactly.
No, let me, public participation.
Yes.
For a long time, the US government and the UK wanted to control our parastatals, like KGGCU, but Moi refused. But when Uhuru came to power, he allowed some parastatals to be taken by some foreign governments, some, not all. Now, Ruto wanted all parastatals to be taken by the foreign governments. So the privatization is actually linking foreign governments. They did that to Uganda. They did that to Zimbabwe. They did that to Chad. I think Chad. Shell, which is Nigeria has a lot of oil. Shell is actually a monopoly of Britain. So the foreign governments are taking over some of the most strategic resources in Africa. So the privatization actually is a proxy. They are lying that is privatization, but we are being taken by foreign governments because the foreign governments are behind it. They've done it in Ethiopia. I saw that the other day I was looking at the flour. The flour industry in Ethiopia has totally been taken by the British government because Ethiopia had a problem with the Oromo were fighting with the Tigris, and you saw what happened there. So it is something, it is a foreign thing. It is not even privatization. It is a state capture. It is a state capture. It's not even privatization. They are lying that it is privatization, but actually it's a state capture. A couple of people have captured, and they are foreigners. They are not Kenyans. And that is why they were able to maneuver Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. You see, it's a mystery how Ruto became a president. It's a mystery how Chebukati announced Ruto. The foreign government was probably involved. And they actually, after Ruto was announced, remember the first person who congratulated him was what? The ambassador of US. So it's not privatization, it's state capture. Thank you.
Amen. Oh, Leo, please come. Oh, you are there. I hand it over to you.
What is it? Are you continuing, or are you giving your closing remarks? Bring me.
We are continuing. We are continuing.
Okay.
People are still We are continuing.
Okay.
People are still there. People are still there.
I can see people are still glued here, so that's great. 14 hours from.
Yeah, so Leo, I beg to retire.
No problem. I'm done with my meeting. I'm done with my meeting. Just retire.
Bye, everybody.
Okay, Stone, call me later on.
Okay.
So, Leo.
Yes.
How are you, my friend?
I'm fine, thank you. Long time, huh? You went to Jacaranda and overstayed there, ama ulibook nyumba huko ya siku mingi?
No, actually, I was in the hospital. I was sick.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
So right now I'm told there is some paperless a cabinet meeting going on there. Na saa zile wana meet, mwizi pia ameingia kwa nyumba ya Mudavadi that is guarded by the GSU, wakaiba TV na gas cylinder. So Kenyans are hungry, man. If somebody can dare steal a TV and a gas cylinder from the chief prime minister's house, then it tells you Kenyans are hungry. Next ni kwenda State House. Ile video mlikuwa mnaona watu wakiswim kwa swimming pool ya Prime Minister Sri Lanka.
When was that meeting released? Today? I haven't seen it.
No, the meeting is going on right now. I was seeing Aisha Juma struggling kusoma hiyo tablet. Bado hajaishikanisha hiyo technology.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I don't know what they're discussing. Maybe we'll get to know what they are discussing today. And I know part of it hata sio mambo ya wananchi, ni mambo ya kumalizana na Raila na kutuambia wenye walipi tax. So let us wait for their response.
No, I think what is happening, I think the Azimio counties have made up their mind. They are not going to pay taxes to the national government. And the meeting of Jacaranda and the meeting of Kamkunji scared these people so much because they couldn't understand how people came in large numbers, Leo. And even me, I didn't expect. People are mad. So what is going to happen is that now that meeting is to counter the Kibera. And you know Kibera ndio backyard ya nani? Ya baba. Hiyo ndio Kibaki. So they know very well that the Kibera meeting is going to be very successful. So they are trying to counter it. But I don't think...
In fact, I like it that they are taking it to Kibera. That one is now going to be the climax, You know, Kibera meeting might end up ikienda pale. Si walisema next wanataka meeting pale Arambe House. So Kibera meeting will be so interesting.
Yeah, I can't wait for that because what I saw, the rejoinder I saw in Kamkundi and Jacaranda was so interesting. And what I still like is that Kalonzo has stuck with Baba, even though there is a pressure for him to ignore him from the government. Martha Karua has stayed with Baba. The only person that is not speaking is Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. But I know surely he is with Baba. Now, there is another thing public participation said. One of the most discerning thing is how Uhuru acted when he monopolized Brookside to take over from KCC. Brookside has killed KCC completely. And we must blame Uhuru for that. Because remember, now Brookside is in Ethiopia, Brookside is in Tanzania, shares for KPLC. Say the truth. Let us say the truth. Kenyatta, yes, was in a handshake with Raila Amolo Odinga. But I'll tell you, economy a little bit. Not so much, just a little bit. So the KCC issue is basically the problem of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Thank you.
That's true. And maybe the question that we should also be asking, I know he killed the caseness competition. There's normally what is called fair, and he was having an advantage. So advancing the interest of his family company, I think he had an advantage over maybe the other competitors within the region, because he also ended up buying other milk. So
no, he actually bought many labels. He bought many labels. The thing,
favoring your friends and favoring your relatives. Was he involved directly as Kenyatta or the family?
With Mercury?
Yes.